Hello, and welcome to the 2025-26 February DAC training on the Kentucky Summative Assessments. My name is Tiffany Christopher, and I'm a program consultant in the Office of Assessment and Accountability. In this training, Jessica Brumley and I will be presenting information and resources to assist you in the administration of the Kentucky Summative Assessment this spring. This training is one in a series of recorded trainings to prepare DACs and BACs for the upcoming spring state test administration. As a result of overwhelmingly positive feedback on the recorded training, OAA is continuing to provide pre-recorded trainings in advance of scheduled question and answer sessions. Any new information presented for 2026 will be denoted with a yellow star throughout the presentation. The agenda for this training is as follows. First, we'll discuss the Kentucky Summative Assessment, including scheduling and PearsonAccess Next, otherwise known as PAN. Then I'll pass it over to Jessica to review information regarding operational test details, KSA administration details, monitoring site visits, 2026 resources, and lastly, KDE committee work opportunities. Let's begin with an overview of the Kentucky Summative Assessment, or the KSA. Kentucky students take the Kentucky Summative Assessments to meet federal and state testing requirements. The Kentucky Summative Assessments are developed by Kentucky teachers and align with Kentucky academic standards in each content area. All students in grades 3 through 8, 10, and 11, including those with disabilities, will take the KSA. This includes students who are retained, taking a supplemental year, students who move within the state during testing, and students with minor medical emergencies. If the student is moving from out of state and is not present on the first day of the testing window, they are not required to test. There are a few exceptions for the KSA resulting in not taking the Kentucky Summative Assessment. This includes, but is not limited to, students in alternate assessment and students approved with medical non-participation requests. For those not required to test, Infinite Campus needs to reflect the reason the student is not testing. For example, if a student is participating in the alternate assessment, it should be marked appropriately in Infinite Campus. The Kentucky Summative Assessment assesses students in reading, mathematics, science, social studies, editing and mechanics, and on-demand writing. The grades in which each content or indicator is assessed is displayed on this slide. Each student is expected to complete the Quality of School Climate and Safety Survey prior to the first content area. Let's take a moment to discuss scheduling. A good resource to help design testing schedules is the KSA Items and Times chart. As you can see, the chart is divided by grade level, content area with estimated time, forms, parts, number of questions, and item types. Item types will vary by form. Regular and makeup sessions may be completed within the last 14 days of instruction. OAA recommends testing to start as early in the 14-day testing window as possible. Initial in-person testing should be completed in content order: reading, mathematics, science, social studies, editing and mechanics, and on-demand writing. Multiple contents may be administered on the same day. As a reminder, each test section started must be completed by the end of the day. Remember to follow the Administration Code guidelines for test security. Following testing policies in the guidance document and test administration manual. Breaks are permitted for content tests that have two parts. New this year, the test administrator scripts will give specific directions for two testing options. 1. Continuing testing Part B immediately after Part A, or 2. Break after Part A or resume Part B on another day. Makeup sessions may be completed during the 14-day testing window. Multiple grades and content areas may be administered in the same room for makeup testing sessions. Schedule makeup sessions as soon as is reasonably possible. There's an option to override Part A to allow students to test with their class for Part B. Pearson has developed guidance on an override that would allow students to test Part B of a content area with their peers, even though they missed Part A. This is available on the Kentucky portal under Educator Resources. Recommended test times are available for each content test. In continuation from last year, all students showing continued progress are allowed to continue testing when the recommended time has expired. Students not diligently working once the recommended time has expired cannot continue. If students complete the assessment before the recommended time has expired, you do not have to continue waiting. This occurrence will need to be recorded and kept at the school level. On the previous slide, we talked about recommended testing times for all students. On this slide, I'd like to draw your attention specifically to students with IEPs, 504s, or PSPs that have an accommodation for extended time. Extended time may be time and a half or double time. For example, if standard time is 30 minutes and a student is allowed time and a half, then after the student requests to use extended time, the student would be given an additional 15 minutes, half of the original 30 minutes. In addition, make arrangements for extended time in a manner that allows other students to go back to instructional activities. In an effort to streamline processes during the KSA administration, the following form will be used for special testing requests. The Schedule Exception Request form, linked here, will be used for special testing requests such as early makeups, off-site homebound, and after-hours testing. On the next few slides, we'll discuss the specifics of when to use this form. One of the most common requests we receive is for early makeup testing. Early makeup testing may be requested if a student will not be present for all or the majority of the 14-day KSA testing window. They may be approved for an early makeup schedule exception. A schedule exception request must be submitted and approved. The following information is needed to submit the request: district and school name, SSID number, grade level, requested testing dates, reason for early testing request. For special circumstances such as off-site or homebound and virtual student testing, exceptions may be approved for testing outside of regular school hours. The Office of Assessment and Accountability will need to work with Pearson to extend testing hours in TestNav and PearsonAccess Next. Please submit the bulletin information in the Schedule Exception Request form for review and approval. Homebound students and proctors can meet at off-site destinations, including the home setting, to complete the KSA if students are not able to test at a school or district facility. The testing schedule in the off-site location may differ than the regular testing schedule. However, the order of content tests must still be followed: reading, mathematics, science, social studies, editing and mechanics, and on-demand writing, with the quality of school climate and safety survey being administered first. All testing environments shall maintain testing security at all times. Virtual program students are required to test in person at a school or district facility. There is not an option for remote testing. All testing environments shall maintain test security at all times. A schedule exception request must be submitted and approved if an off-site testing location is needed. See the previous slide for the information needed for submitting an off-site testing request. Now that we covered scheduling, let's shift our focus to the next important topic: PearsonAccess Next. KDE provides a student data file to Pearson to load into PAN. Please ensure that Infinite Campus is updated and current as of March 20th in preparation for the student data file KDE will provide to Pearson on March 23rd. Any students enrolled after the data extraction will need to be manually added. Next, let's take a few moments to review PAN. Resources such as the PAN User Guide, TestNav Online User Guide, Training Site, Practice Test, tutorials, and PAN training modules can be found at ky.pearsonaccessnext.com/customer. We encourage you to review these helpful resources. Creating and preparing for test sessions. Create test sessions beginning March 30th in PAN. The number of test sessions is a local decision. Students will be preloaded into PAN, and DACs and BACs must create test sessions. Students must be placed in the test sessions. Students will take operational assessments in TestNav, Pearson's online testing platform. Detailed instructions can be found on the Kentucky Assessments Creating Test Sessions on PearsonAccess Next tab located in the Kentucky portal under Administration Resources, OAA, and Pearson Guidance Documents. Like last year, reading, math, and social studies will have two parts. Jessica will talk more about this when she discusses the operational test details in the second half of the training. When planning test sessions, please keep in mind each session must be finished by the end of the school day. For example, if reading part B is started on Monday, please ensure it is completed by the end of the school day on Monday. Do not start a session with a student if there's a possibility that the student may not finish the session before the end of the school day. Testing must be given in order according to the grade level being assessed. Always starting with the Quality of School Climate and Safety survey, reading, mathematics, science, social studies, editing and mechanics, and lastly, on-demand writing. For schools with a 1-to-1 student-to-computer ratio, work with technology staff to determine how many students can test simultaneously. Makeup test sessions are administered during the testing window. Scheduling for makeup sessions can be flexible. Please schedule makeups in the content sequence when possible. For example, if a student missed more than one content area, upon returning, they may continue to test with their peers, but will follow testing sequence while scheduling makeup sessions. Students should understand the correct steps to sign out of TestNav sessions, especially if exiting and resuming later. If a session is closed out incorrectly, it may cause additional steps for the back and the test administrator the next time the student attempts to log in. Please refer to the Pearson training PowerPoints and the videos for specific steps on how students should sign out of TestNav sessions. Additionally, please have students practice the correct way to sign out using the practice tests located on the KY portal. As a reminder, paraphrasing directions is not an accommodation and may be utilized for all students. Upon logging into a content test, the student will be asked to accept the honor code prior to entering the seal code. Students must agree to the honor code before moving forward with the test. This process is one of the critical pieces of test security used to monitor appropriate administration of the KSA assessment. Students should be reminded of the importance of doing their own work and always putting forth their best effort. The use of electronics and social media reminders. Review with students the administration code around the use of electronic devices. Schools should have policies in place regarding the use of cell phones during test administration. Posting of secure materials to any social media platform is not allowed and may lead to disciplinary issues. Inappropriate use of electronics and social media are the most common reported testing allegations. Review social media and electronics policies before testing to prevent possible allegations. Next, Jessica's going to walk you through operational test details.